This is the next video that I was talking about. We'll cover the interior of the vehicle. So let's have a look at the inside the vehicle now, and I'll give some explanations on a few of those items. I'll just get the back doors open. We'll start with the back. I suppose I've done me a little bit of Ronnie Dell on the exterior, but you'll see in the back once again, drifter kit. Love the drifter gear. Now, just point out some benefits of drifter gear, because even now there's quite a few people that haven't heard about it. I looked at a number of different styles. Now, I'm not knocking any others. I'm not knocking them for price or quality or anything like that. All I'm saying is that the drifter kit really suited me, and I really liked the way it went together and the standard features. The other thing about the drifter gear or the drifter fit outs is you can customize them. You know, you don't have to just take a package off it. If you want 2 tables, you can have 2 tables. If you want 2 drawers, you can have 2 drawers. You know, you want drop down fridge customization. You know, you want a panel on the side that could be a power bank or a charging station. All that's possible. All you have to do is just talk to Beachy or the boys down there when you're looking at doing a fit out, and they can talk over the design, everything with you, and then give you a price, and you can work out what you want to do and don't do. So I just went with the standard package because, well, I knew roughly what the weight was going to be, but by the time I got to this point, the funds I'd put aside, being that I've just retired, the funds I put aside were getting a bit shallow, and there's still a couple of things, just final things I might do that aren't so expensive. But this was pretty much the last major piece of work they've had done on the vehicle. So very briefly, you can see they're made out of I believe it's marine ply, high quality marine ply. This panel here is very often, that panel there is very often used for some switches and a gauge from the Victron controller and such. I've chosen to do nothing at this stage because I just don't know what I want to do. It may become a charging station with a little shelf above it, slightly different above it in time, but I just don't know at this stage. And I do have myself already set up with a battery and everything that was set up before the cupboards went in, the drawers went in, I should say. Fridge slide, nothing too different about that. I'll just slide it out just so you can have a see, provided I can get out with one hand. Probably not. So fridge slide, guys, pretty much like any other fridge slide. Slides all the way out, gives you access to the fridge. I'm running 60 litre Engel fridge or freezer. I have another fridge, a 57 litre fridge, Evercool in the camper, which the last big trip that I did away with a few of the boys, I ran it as freezer only. So I love the way it is. It's on slides, but it's actually a drifter layout, the way the shelf and everything's and the drawer's done. Whoop. Slide that back into place. And that's pretty much the fridge. One thing that I did learn is to close it up. Because the 70 series is pretty shallow, there's not a great deal of room, to be honest, in depth between at the doors and to the back of the seat. And you need to be mindful of that. And 60 litre is about the biggest fridge you're going to get in the back of a 76 series without moving the seats and such, unless you turn your fridge sideways, which just isn't logical and doesn't really work well. So 60 litre Engel is as large as you can go, and a bit of a proving point is that is the first time I opened it, I forgot to put that away, and consequently when I closed the door I ended up with this mark on the door here. So it was a learning lesson. The vehicle's been christened now anyway. Well, actually, it's been well and truly christened. I did that only about 3 weeks after I bought it, which is going to be repaired next week. So if we look inside, we've got a good flat surface here. It's covered for the fridge. This surface here that covers the fridge, stop gear falling behind it and such, actually lifts off with some bungee points there. I won't overview it too heavily because you can go on to Drifter site, look at their fit out videos, and there's a beautiful explanation or rundown of this exact setup done by Beachy. So this is not sliding, but it does have tight end points in it that I had put in as an option. That's one of the options. I had these hard edges put on, which was another option, purely simply because you can see already it would have just purely worn the edges off the... I slide a lot of gear in and out, and it'd just wear the edges off. You know, the fill-ins, you lift them out of space. The brackets there, they actually slide out really easy, so you can pull them out if you need to put something long in and then slip them back in. I've got a few standard items in there: toilet paper, spare fishing shoes and such. Eventually a thin lithium battery will go on one side, but the lithium battery... Eventually one of the thin lithium batteries will go on the side. I'll upgrade to 200 amps, and we'll go down the side there to get out of the way. But I'm currently running a 100 amp Interia battery that sits inside a battery box, and I've had my components screwed onto that, so that'll stay that way for a while. It was an expensive item to set up, so no point in changing it until it needs changing. That's pretty much it. I love this feature. You know, full length drawer comes out. That's about it. I love this feature. Full length drawer that comes out all the way if you wish, and without taking it down and showing you, you'll see that there is legs under there that fold down, and gives you opportunity to set it up as a separate table if you want. Like I said, if you want to customize, if you want two of these, I've seen the same setup with somebody had the fridge slide, but it was just a little bit higher and had another table the width of that was underneath. So that's the beauty about the drifter gear, is you can have it customized to what you want, and there's no end of options in standard builds as well. What I also like about this drawer is that, you know, it's solid as rock even when it's just pulled out, and you know, you can pull that out, pull your fridge out, get a couple of things out of the fridge, make a sanger, close your fridge up, and when you're finished, and just slide it back away, and it just locks itself in the back there. It's got a little ball, dual ball connector that locks on. The drawer comes out. Now, one thing you will notice, and it does have a stop so it doesn't come out all the way, one thing you will notice is no slides on the side, and about the only slides in this build, actually, even if you have more drawers, will just be the ones that are on the fridge, and that will be, you know, that's pretty obvious when I mention the way that the all the other slides work, because what they actually have is they run Teflon on Teflon strips, and there's a fair bit of weight in this drawer because this is tools and some electrical stuff and bits and pieces. So I imagine from, you know, when we're talking from about that part of the drawer forward to the back of the drawer, which probably goes in, yeah, a good half arm's length back in under there, we're probably talking about 40 kilos, you know, just in that section itself, if not more. You get this slide, lift out drawer here. I haven't really got a lot under there. Things that I really want, from importance to less important, very important, stubby coolers. There we go. Mr. Buckaroni, and a couple of my old army stubby coolers from my days in the defence. And you know, just some items that I might need more regularly. Tyre change repair kit in there. This first one here is actually one of the rechargeable jumpers. I can't remember the model it is. It's one of the better models, but it's rated to do something like 50 flat, completely flat, cold V8 diesel engine restarts about 50 times. So that nice little shovel if I need to go off and use the toilet and there's nothing else about. The smaller one, the bigger one, once again, this is a new item for Drift of Stockton. There's a review by Phil, I've forgotten his surname, on that, and I think also Luke's done one on the drifter side, as Drift and Stockton side as well. Everything is drifter bags. Slowly replacing these drift bags, because when I bought all of these a couple of years ago or so, they didn't have the clear top ones, but the range of bags has extended something incredible. And one other thing I've done is Drift to sell this orange bag, and I think they call it an emergency bag, and I think initially it is because to suit somebody that was out in the boat. I bought it for that very reason. So I have a fire blanket in the corner there. If I go camping with anyone, I tell them there's a first aid kit, a snake bite kit, and a fire blanket in the back of the vehicle, you know, on the corner of the drawers. And I said, you can't miss this, it's an orange bag. And somebody said to me, you know, like, oh, I don't see orange. And then I thought, oh, of course, if somebody's colourblind, so it is a clear top bag, you can see fairly easy, but I have actually gone in my way to just ride on top there and say first aid. So it's easily enough to identify. This is how I'm going to travel. I've got stuff in the drawer there, my screen there. I've got nothing on the right hand side. There's a bit of spare if I just want to throw something in there. My head will probably just sit there. My laptop for future on the road videos and such is there. Velcroed sunscreen to the side, very important. Larger shovel there for toilet, or you know, the tint I've put on that certainly wouldn't be obvious is the new ceramic tint. And I can't remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like 26% UV block, and I can believe it because the back of this vehicle, when the doors are closed, is surprisingly cool, and it's virtually impossible to look into once the sun starts going down. It's hard enough when it's not. You can see into it, but I just love it, and I could not believe the difference it made in this vehicle compared to my previous vehicle, and I cannot believe the difference it made to the 70 series having no tint, because it was like an oven. And so last vehicle taking to the grave, and so consequently, you know, I wanted to, within reason, put the best I could get. Okay, so that's the back of the vehicle. There's nothing in the rear but somewhere for my dog to lay when we're traveling. He's not a big fan of sitting in the front, and he gets air and cools air if he's not on the seat. Under there is the dual compressor, ARB dual compressor and air tank in the box. I didn't want to mount it in the case that I had to pull it out of the box, and I do have another compressor and air line and everything for the air suspension that's in the back of the Dot camper that I'll review a little bit later on. Just a bit of camera gear in the back, just an odds and ends bag on the end there, pure and simply just so I can put a lot of common items. And to be honest, there's a lot of my dog stuff in there. Some hand cleaners, you know, sanitary stuff for keeping your hand clean and all that sort of thing, being as COVID, and a lot of the dog stuff's in there as such. My maps, map case there. I really do like getting out a map and laying it out and having a look where I'm going to go and the routes and such, and then go back to the electronic side of things. Suits me. Dog leads and dog ties, and you know, and long training leads or beach leads, whatever, sit in their bag there that are easy to get to and they're out of the way. Had that custom made. Actually, that's probably about the only leather item, canvas item I've ever made that wasn't made by Drifter. So in the front we have, I bought this item, I was after one of those long ones, I can't remember what they're called, but fair to say, I think the seats in the new 7 Series aren't too bad. I actually don't mind them, and they're actually better than my previous 4-wheel drive, comfort-wise, although I did have 10 years, so I imagine they might have softened a bit, but I'm quite happy with these seats. And after getting the suspension on the BP51s, I got no intention to change the seats, and I have a little bit of a bad back, but you know, I've done a 6-hour drive in this, and it was just fine. It could be better, but you know, do I really want to spend another $4,000 on seats? This year I find two things are really lacking. The day I picked up the Cruiser is somewhere to rest your arm, especially on a long trip. So I bought this. It was only cheap. It just sits on there. I can take it off. A couple of Velcros holding in place, but it's just enough to sit your elbow on and have a bit of a rest, and away you go. Fire extinguisher on this side. There's another fire extinguisher going on the other side, so I can access it from either sides, and there'll be a smaller fire extinguisher sat in the back as well as I have one in the camper. Paranoid maybe, but you know, if I need it, I want to be able to get my hands onto something straight away. So as far as inside the vehicle goes, my phone mount, RAM mount's a big fan of them. Red arc brake controller, I really do like that. Once again, where do you rest your arm? And I've got to tell you, you'd think that Toyota, as much as I love the Toyota vehicle, I've had a few Toyotas and I do love them, the great reliable vehicle, never give me any problem. But they need to think a little bit more about the 70 series. It's not a farm vehicle anymore. People are buying them for more serious things such as myself, and the standard console on these things is absolutely woeful. You probably only fit 2 packs of smokes in it, and it's so low, you know, it might as well not be there. So very first mod I done within the first week of getting the vehicle was to buy a cruiser console, and just the short length one, not the full body wrap around, and it is just superb. I just love it. You know, somewhere to rest your arm, and with your arm on that and resting one on the door, it makes such a difference to long trips. Really good. So I have you can see there's one microphone on the dash there, the 370C, which is the model GME. They're among, you know, some of the best, I suppose, but they're certainly very good. And I like the fact you can do everything on the screen, or in fact you can do anything through Bluetooth to the radio. The other one I'll mention very shortly when we get up there. You can see there's not much else changed in the front. I simply have my GoPro gear and my drone on the floor down there in the front, which I can just move to the, I want it easy to get to if I need to pull up and I want to do something, but I can just simply throw it on the back seat, or throw it in the back if anybody happens to jump in the passenger seat, which isn't very likely, considering I'll be travelling on my own. The scan gauges I'll come back to. You know, the Maston tyre pressure monitor, I think it's absolutely imperative that you run one of those, and this does the trailer as well, so I can tell if I'm losing pressure in a trailer tyre before I end up shredding a tyre, or something ordinary goes wrong and we go adrift. On the floor I just simply have I think it's the air companion, just so I can see what temperature the fridge is running in the back, and it doesn't give a real accurate temperature of what the cab temperature is, purely simply because it sits on the floor there, and the heat tends to come through that floor console a little bit, or through that floor a bit, and so it does generally reads about 6 degrees hotter than what it actually is, although because the engine has me running, it probably is 33 degrees in the vehicle. Dash cam, that's a pretty common occurrence on any vehicle now, nothing special to a 70 series or a Tourer. My HEMA, HX1. Now I've got this, I've also got the HEMA 4x4, or anyway the HEMA app that runs on the iPad. I've got that as well. I find that one tends to be a bit better than the other, and what I do like about this is if you use it just for city or you know, urban navigations or general highway navigations, it gives you a lot of pinpoints and corrects me on the speed all the time, which is a good thing. So I think that's about that for there. We'll jump in the back and we'll push forward at what we're going to talk about now. So we have a cruiser console's roof console there that just runs along the front. It's not one that runs the length. I like them, but it just didn't really suit me, to be honest, and I didn't see the need for it. I get a little bit claustrophobic with too much clutter. As it is, I've already got too much clutter in the front, but you know, that's how it has to be. But you'll see that there's another radio mount up there, and that's another GME 370C, so it's all remote. It's tucked away in up there, but it's purely accessible, so if I do have to replace the radio or pull the radio out, the left hand side netting right behind that, or at the back, you can simply slide your hand in, unclip because it comes in a mounting bracket, unclip it, slide it forward and take the cables off and rip it out, and we're good to go. So that equates for the 2 antennas on the front. Now, the last thing we'll talk about, or virtually the last thing we'll talk about, is I want to talk about this scan gauge. So I'll just see if I can light these guys up, which we can. Now, a lot of people have scan gauges, and it's nothing new. I'll see if I can get a bit of a steady hold there. It is nothing new to have a scan gauge. It's very popular on diesel engines. However, a lot of people say to me, oh, you've got dual scan gauges, and I'll explain the reason I've done that. One major factor, and I had a single scan gauge in my previous vehicle, but like the 70 series, or this 76 series, even though it's 2020 model, my previous vehicle, 2009 D-Max, so much, was actually a Holden Colorado 2009, but in effect it's nothing more than just a 2009 D-Max has been rebadged. consequently the reason I went to Holden, because they were cheap, really cheap at the time when they were doing their run out sales, and I knew it was Isuzu. So back to the scan gauges. The reason behind dual scan gauges is you can go into a section, you go here, you know, you go into there and you go more or something, and you go over the left and you go to trip. And what that will give you, it'll give you some trip stats, but that's no good to me when you're driving. I don't want to know me trip, you know, details and such at the end of the day. So there's a function or a feature of the scan gauges that I think they're called X gauge, and it gives you the ability to reprogram those codes that are used in the trip to be displayed or to be given a value, such as you can see in the top here. I've got FRT, which is, you know, fuel remaining in the tank. That's actually a value that's brought in with the code from the trip function that's all in the back end. But with X gauge, you can take those codes, give a name to them, and have them displayed on your screen as a normal 24/7 or runtime display. So I chose to do that, and what that does give me, which I find is a value to me, is fuel remaining in the tank, the distance to empty, which is pretty accurate once you get these calibrated after half dozen fills, the maximum temperature, which is actually a trip meter value, but I've reprogrammed that to display MXT excuse me, maximum temperature, so I can see at any one time what the maximum temperature you know, I've reached during a trip cycle, so for that day basically, which is important. And well, it's important to me. I want to know, you know, if I've missed, you know, that we've been running hot or any time. Directly underneath that is the normal running temperature, and it's not unusual, you know. I would have, you know, I'm doing something and I've gone up a hill or over the range or something, and I think, oh, that's not too bad, 88, but actually see that it had maxed out at 92. So they're all good values that I want to see. On the bottom, I have the other options. So this is also a scan gauge, an X gauge change that comes in from trip. DTT I've called it, which is the distance of travel on the tank. The average fuel per 100 used for the tank. So that's actually the average litres per 100 for the complete tank. So it gives you a better overall feel of, from full to empty, what your average fuel usage has been across that volume of fuel that you've used. On the right hand side, I'll have litres per 100, which is the real time. You know, so you can basically see in real time how many litres per 100 you're actually burning, you know, purely and simply based on how hard you're going, which is obvious. The other big one here that is also you need to program in through X gauge is on the, I don't know what model this became available, but on the 2020, or I believe it was from the DPF models, when the DPF 70 series models started, there's a code raised that's available that you can tap into in the ECU through the scan gauge for the exhaust gas temperature. So it means that I haven't had to bother with putting in a separate EGT gauge. So, which is important when you're towing and such. And I try to keep. I've never had it over 520. I try to keep it under 500. If you want to understand, 550 is the safe high limit. So it's important when you're towing, especially when you're getting up hills and that, to be able to understand your EGTs. So, long explanation, maybe a little bit over the top, but that's the reason that I run dual scan gauge, so I can have all those values, you know, available to me straight away. When you're driving in the outback and you're doing long distances and you're getting into areas, especially on your own, just me and my dog, where you know, you may not see a lot of vehicles on the road, or you certainly don't want to be stuck out the never waiting for somebody to come along. For me, it's very important to be able to see what's happening with tyre pressures and how many tyres are running, and also exactly what's going on with the motor. And the important things for that are EGT, you know, temperature, volts, and the like. So that's the reason behind that. I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything else that I've done here I'm going to cover off. There's nothing more than a mount there for a GoPro once I get on the road, and I think that's about me. Yep, I believe so. So I'll jump out. You can certainly do a lot more, but that's what I thought, you know, at the end of the day. So that's about the vehicle, and it's not complex. I mean, it's probably about half a series tour, I suppose, when what you see when, you know, we're talking about Ronnie Downey, you're talking about Patriot campers, you know, etc, etc, etc. The likes of, you know, tripping a van. Those guys have gone all out, and they're doing it in the van, and you know, with the cut crews and all. But for me, and for what I want to do, and even though it doesn't have that high level of customization, it's going to cut it for me. And I find it more than comfortable enough. And to be honest, I don't like too much technology. I've got as much technology as what I want in the vehicle, and that'll do me just fine. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of the dual scan gauge setup that I had, and it is kind of new to a lot of people when they say, oh, you've got 2 scan gauges. So I hope you enjoyed the vehicle. I hope you got something out of it.